This bag came with the American Hard Bag kit installed. It was on this bike. American Hard Bags makes an awesome kit, but you have to know the X Max of the woofer that you're using, because if you have a speaker that has a ton of excursion, it's gonna hit. It's gonna hit. This is made for mid-range and mid-bass drivers. They tried to put a subwoofer in it, so of course it was distorting because the woofer was actually hitting. So you have to know the X Max of your speaker and then measure and make sure it doesn't hit. So we're gonna go ahead and make an 8-inch ring. We're gonna cut the entire thing out. That way the woofer has plenty of excursion and it won't hit. So we're actually gonna space it out 3/4 of an inch, which can be more than enough. And then we're gonna wrap it in waterproof cloth so it stays protected from the elements like it does with this kit. But it's gonna give them a ton of output without the woofer hitting the mesh. Okay, so now we have our round hold cut in our bag to allow the maximum output. You see the corners from the hard bag kit that they had previously installed. So we have our speaker ring with our mesh installed to protect the 8-inch woofer from dirt and dust. It's gonna install like this. Then we made a plastic trim panel to cover up the cut hole. So it's nice and clean, serviceable, and gives you the most output possible. Having the connector up here makes absolutely no sense. The problem with having the connector up there is when you go to remove the bag, you have a wire harness holding you here. The proper spot for the connector is at the bottom of the bag. That way you can remove the bolt, lean the bag, reach down, and unplug it. Somebody thought it would be a good idea to caulk the wires and glue them to the side of the bag. They routed them at the top of the bag instead of the bottom, and these wires are too thin. They were trying to run a set of 6x9s and a set of 8-inch subwoofers off what appears to be 18 or 20 gauge wire. This is the cable we're replacing it with. You see the size difference. Okay, we use the connectors that we use for a reason. This is a connector we're taking off a client's bike. We're doing a wiring rescue. This is actually a good connector and they use waterproof. It's a good connector. You won't have an issue with it. The reason we don't like using them is you're limited to how much current these wires can carry. So if you measure it, you're talking 2 millimeters is the maximum wire size you can fit because it's pre-pinned. The connectors that we like to use allow us to go with a much thicker wire. So we're at 2 millimeters for their wire. You can see our wire is going to fit in our connector. It slides right in, and then we can solder it. And our connector is much bigger and it accommodates 3.6 millimeter. So you're talking double the thickness, which means double the current, which means your speakers will get more power. That's why we like to use these connectors and not these. These are fine in low power applications. So if you're using a 200 watt or maximum of 400.4, these are good. But if you're running bigger power than that, you got to step up to these. And then if you're running big power, you got to step up to these. So what's nice about these is that takes you up from 3.6 up to 6.3. So this is double the other one, and then the other one's double the previous one. It's just simple math. This is why we use the products that we use.